people do like exams, but not all of us. Well, on today's episode, I'll be sharing with you some few tips that help me to get IELTS score 8, both in academic and general. But for the purpose of express entry, you need just the general. So that's all I'm going to talk about today. So IELTS stands for International English Language Testing System, IELTS. IELTS for short, yeah. So that's this. IELTS is usually one of the requirements that some universities, or if you're migrating to some English countries, request for. So we can run away from it. All right, so IELTS is in 4 different sections. You have the listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Now, each of them has its own special format. So let's begin with listening. All right, so you have a total of 40 minutes for listening. You have 40 minutes for 40 questions for listening. But the key thing to remember with listening is you have 30 minutes to the entire recording, and you have 10 minutes to transfer your answers. That's really key. Some people make the mistake and they forget that. So you have 30 minutes for the recording from number 1 to 40. You write your answers on the answer sheet. Then they give you an extra 10 minutes for you to transfer your answers. Now, the recording is played only once. Pay attention and listen well. Now, for listening, my number 1 advice is practice, 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 practice. Don't assume that you know how to speak English already, so that is enough. No, you will have the shock of your life, because that's what happened to me the very first time I tried my practice exams. The formats are different. So you have a part A, then B, you have section 1, 2, and 3, and then section 1 usually is a conversation between 2 people. It could be someone making a reservation, or someone bought something from a shop and is having issues with it. So it's around that kind of conversations. And mainly and mostly the questions will be based on maybe the name of the person, maybe the caller, the address. So those are the things that you need to listen out for. The question, like I said, it changes all the time, but mostly that's how it is. One key thing with the listening is that the answers actually follow with the conversation. If you've done a lot of practice, you realize that. So for example, maybe number 1, he say, "Oh, hi, my name is Grace Haley," something like that. Maybe, "My name is Grace Haley." And the person on the other side will ask, "Oh, Haley, could you spell it for me?" That's your key. So you need to listen to how she spells it. Now, so for the listening, the speakers will be either British or from New Zealand or from Canada or America. So it's those accents. So if you're not used to such accents, that's what I'm saying, you need to practice and practice, because sometimes you are saying R and the R sounds like R. Well, yeah, so you want to practice a lot so that you get familiar with some of these sounds. Because they do a good job, because they are going to spell the ones that they know you might not hear, and that is where your cue is. And in the answers, you will have to write it. You have to write those words. So the first part, you have short answers, so you need to write it. And another thing before I forget, please and please again, pay attention to the instructions, because sometimes they'll ask you not more than 1 word. So it means it's just 1 word you're looking for. Maybe they'll tell you not more than 1, or and a number, or a number. So those are the key things you need to look out for. If you practice, I'll leave the link below. You could go there, they give you all the key things you have to look at, but I'm just summarizing it for you. The instructions are key. If you miss it, because if it says 1 word and a number, it means in that next answer, there's probably going to be a number in it or not. So it just lets you can say and or a number. So those are some of the instructions you need to pay attention to. And so for the second part, you can have maybe like a diagram or a chart that shows like a map of a school. So maybe you are given directions. So maybe they will just give you like the letters. They will just letter the different places. Maybe the restaurant is A, cafeteria is A, the library is C, and they'll give you some cue. Maybe the garden is here. And in their conversation, they will tell you maybe when you go straight, turn left, 2 stops to your right. So all those kind of direction stuff, they just want to check how well you know these things. So yeah, so that's the second section. And the third section is usually a monologue where you have maybe a resource educational person come and talk about. It could be anything from wild animals to, you know, history, dinosaur, anything at all. But basically, they just want to see how well you can listen and how well you can understand the different texts. But those ones, you're not writing the full sentences. Like I mentioned, the instructions will tell you what to do. So sometimes it's maybe 2 words or a number or 1 word. So yeah, these are just as a summary. This is just an overview of what to expect in listening. So for listening, my key point is 1, remember, it's 30 minutes for you to listen to the entire recording. As you listen, you write your answers on the answer sheet, and you have 10 minutes to transfer it. Please don't forget. And when you are listening, you have to realize that usually the answers, they follow. I mean, there are some parts that it gets a bit tricky, like the second part that maybe the person will mention before. You need to pay attention. If you're attentive, you're likely to hear it. And the recording plays only once, so you need to pay attention, full attention, no distractions. 2 is the instructions. Read the instructions carefully. If you want to get familiar and comfortable with the instructions, do a lot of practice tests. So that's all I have for you for listening. If you have any more questions, you can let me know. All right, now let's move on to reading. Now, reading could be a little bit trickier. So for reading, you have 60 minutes, that's an hour, and you have 3 sections. You have 3 passages, so A, B, and C. And the passage can be very long, trust me. When you're doing the practice test, you would see it, and you would think maybe it's a joke, but that's the reality. The passages are really long. So the number 1 tip will be for you to learn how to read very fast. Not just read, but like skim through passages and be able to highlight the key information that is required. Here too, you need to pay attention to the instructions. It could ask you for 1 word. There is a yes or no, not given sections, true or false, not given. Those 2 can confuse you. It might be true or false or not given. But because maybe you think true or false is the same as yes or no, you might mistakenly, switch it. So just be sure of what the instruction is asking you, if it's a true or false and not given section, and if it's asking you for just 1 word or 2 words. And so for the reading, the first section, usually you can do heading matching. So maybe you have like maybe 6 different paragraphs. So paragraph A, B, C, D, E, and they've summarized the headings for them. They've summarized the headings in the answers you have to choose. It's not in the passage. So the reading for the first section, it could be in different formats, but sometimes you can have heading matching. That's one, heading matching, where you have maybe 6 different paragraphs, A, B, C, D, E, G, whatever it is, and you have to read through it and find the main idea, which could be the heading for just that paragraph. So if you go into the answer sheets, like the multiple choice that you have to check, you see that like maybe they've written this heading, like different headings. So you will have to decide which heading fits which paragraph. Yeah. So that requires you to know how to read fast and skim through things and get the main idea as fast as possible, because it could take a while and you have 60 minutes. So you could do 20 minutes for everyone. But for me, what I usually try to do is to try and spend less time on the first and the second, so that I have more time for the third, because the third passages are usually very long. Then have some extra 5 minutes for me to go over. That's for me. That's how I trained myself during the practice time. So during my practice times, I would practice as if I'm writing it on the final day. So I will print out the actual answer sheets from online and practice with it to just be familiar with how long or how much I can get done within that period. So back again to the idea, practice, practice, practice. Yes, but yeah, I'm just here to give you some tips to help you as well. So yeah, so for reading, you want to learn how to read faster and skim through it and get the main ideas. And you want to understand what the instructions are, what it means to have yes, no, or not given. For example, the yes, no, not given, or true, false, not given. Like the true and the yes, it means it's in the passage. It's not about what you think. It's with regards to the passage. False means it does not even exist in the passage at all. Not given, false means it's not what the passage is saying. It's not, it's like when we like it's false. But not given means it doesn't even exist in the passage at all. So yeah, some of these things like head matching, you have to be sure if it's the alphabet you are matching with. So please pay attention to the instructions for reading. And yeah, don't even try using like your own mind to come up don't try to use your own mind to understand it. Like, just the answers are all in the passages, so you want to stick to that. It's not about, you know, your knowledge about some particular topic they're talking about. You want your answers to come from the passage. Got it? Yes. All right, so let's quickly move on to writing. Now, the only difference between the academic IELTS exams and the general exams is writing. So for us, as we are thinking of moving to Canada through the express entry, we need general. All right, so for the general writing test, you have two sections. You have task 1 and task 2. So the total time for writing is 60 minutes. So even on the paper, they will advise you to use 20 minutes for task 1 and 40 minutes for task 2. So task 1 will mainly be a letter. I know it's been forever since I wrote a letter. So it could be a formal letter, an informal letter, semi-formal letter. So please, if you have forgotten those things, just go back and revise them. You know how you write formal letters, you know, the address of they will give you the directions, you know, and the questions the question will state exactly what they want you to write about. So maybe write a letter to your friend telling her, 1, why you couldn't attend her birthday, 2, you know, what you learned from it or what happened, you know, those kind of breakdown. So don't worry about it. They give you all those information they give you information of what they want you to write about, and they give you the number of words. I think task 1 is about like 150 words or more. So when you practice, you have an idea of what length or how many lines is equal to the 150 words, depending on how big or small your handwriting is. So yeah, I will advise you to practice writing as well. Trust me, some of us get really lazy when it comes to practicing writing, but you need it. At least you want a minimum of 7 or 7.5. Yeah, and then task 2 is where you usually have like a major topic. It could be any topic at all. It could be a social issue or something related to technology, anything at all. So yeah, you need to practice as much questions as possible so that you know how to paragraph your ideas, how to start the introduction, how to end it. Yeah, so that's for writing. And now for speaking, I remember when I was going to write mine, I had watched many videos online about how you can get speaking IM band 9 or 8 and 5, and some of them, I won't lie to you, they really scared me, because you know someone was giving very, you know, academic-ish, if there's a word like that, you know, very diplomatic kind of answers. I was like, and I remember I was thinking to myself, geez, these people are really smart. I am not sure I can actually go through this, you know. But when it was my turn, what I decided to do was, girl, I like to talk. So I just went in my way. I don't know about other people's experience, but for me, I remember I just walked in, met the examiner, asked me how am I, you answered, and they give you some first minute to, I think, introduce yourself Then he gives you a paper that has these different questions on it, and he'll give you a couple of minutes, I think a minute or so, for you to prepare your answers. Then when you're done, he'll tell you to start talking, and they time you. You start talking about that, what you've written. So when you start talking, when the time is up, he will stop you. Then the next questions will be based on that particular topic, and it can go on and on. And depending on who the examiner is, when I wrote my academic and the general, the examiners I had for both were all cool. I mean, they were all nice, because we ended up having very interesting conversations. I think my last one, something about my bridesmaids and wedding. Yeah, something about that. Like, yeah, I can't remember what, but then yeah, it was something related to that. Yeah. So the topic could be anything. My first speaking for academic was related to television and media related stuff in my country. Yeah. So it could be anything. The speaking, if anybody tells you, okay, there's a standard topic, learn all of these things, it could be one of, no, it keeps changing. So just at least learn the format. Just have an idea of how the format is. That's okay. After 1 minute, you write your idea, you will talk. Then after that, he'll ask you some questions. So you can practice. You can practice with your friends if you have friends around. I didn't have anybody to practice with then. So, and yeah, it's not like I get a bit lazy. I'm just being realistic. So I just did it my way, and I got an 8. Yay, yes. So I believe you can also do it. I trust you. So yeah, this is the end of my overview of the IELTS exams, the IELTS General exams. If you have any questions or any concerns or anything you would like me to talk more about, just leave it in the comments below, or you can join our Facebook page, which is Moving to Canada Tales. Just type that in Facebook and just join the group, because join that group because we're going to have more discussions there. If you have more concerns, we can discuss it on that platform and help somebody. You might never know. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe, share with friends, and let us all get better results for IELTS. Annyeong. Bye.